We've got the green background. We're both wearing green. Are you kidding? You
Good
lost audio again?
morning. Lawrence, I lost audio again.
Oh
The curse
no.
of the StreamYard. I will be right back.
All right. Well,
One
good
day we're
morning,
going to figure out
everybody.
why this happens.
Welcome to the Daily Whatever Show. Happy Tuesday. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We are wearing our green. Dana will be back in just a moment after she does the little song and dance that StreamYard is making us do for some completely inexplicable reason. We are really excited. We've got a great guest today. Christopher Pepper is joining us. We're going to talk about his book and the work that he does in talking to teens. So we'll introduce him as soon as Dana gets back and we have our little morning check-in. Here she is. I didn't hear the normal beep, but there you are. Hello.
Good morning, all.
Good.
Welcome to the Daily Whatever Show.
I
Have
did
we
all that.
already, I figured, have we already done the happy St. Patrick's
I
Day?
said Happy St. Patrick's Day. I've got the green background up for us, so we're all
Fabulous.
greened out. You've got your green wall, like
I couldn't, I mean, I'm not Irish, but I'm representing.
right. In theory, I'm a little bit Irish on my mom's side, so I've got my green shirt, my white buffalo, my green shirt.
Okay, I love it. How are you today, Lawrence?
I'm a disaster. How are you?
Oh, I'm okay. Why are we a disaster today?
My poor boy kitty Tycho yesterday
Oh no,
decided that he was going to
no.
act like he was dying. So I
Oh,
Well, I
shit.
mean,
Oh, oh.
he's apparently fine. But I did rush him
Okay.
to the vet yesterday afternoon, where I sat in a room with my poor terrified kitty for like 3.5, 4 hours,
Oh,
to find out that he's got a cold, basically.
God.
So I've got antibiotics and a steroid for him that I cannot get inside of him because it requires
No.
me to hold him down, open his mouth, and squirt two syringes of liquid into his mouth, which uh,
Oh my
when I
God.
tell you I'm bleeding as a result of trying to do this, I'm
No,
literally bleeding.
I get it, and I'm sorry. I have gotten ridiculous advice from vets about, well, both pets, but especially the cats, where you're like, you know what cats are, right? We're not going to be able to do that.
Right, right.
You want me to force feed my cat liquid?
Yeah. My
You can
mom is
hear,
coming over this afternoon, and I'm going to wrap him in a towel.
yes, that's what you got to do sometimes.
Kira's being good.
Sort of. She's doing her little ruff, ruff. So I'm soothing her from right
Aw.
here. I know.
Can I
Um,
plug a thing really quick?
yes.
I published the first near field yesterday. So on my Substack, I have been doing these explorations of hinge moments. I've published two of the hinge moments, and I think people will recall I'm kind of setting them up as triptychs, where there are two hinges and then a
Yes.
near field. And the near field is sort of a plausible future scenario. The first one went live yesterday. I fucking love it. It is great, if I do say so myself.
Oh, I missed that one, so I will be reading that today.
Yes, it is. I'm really proud of it, and I would love it if people could go check it out. And I'm not even in the chat yet, so
I
I
know I'm
need to
going to
like.
the chat right now. You can probably see. I feel like, oh, my lighting is a little bit yellow. Hang on.
Anyway,
There.
I'm super thrilled about this one.
Well,
It's set in
congratulations.
2029, and Gavin Newsom is president. AOC is the
Oh,
Speaker of the House, and all kinds of madcap horror ensues thanks to Congress's lack of enforcement of Article 1 powers and the emerging trend of AI being built into our war machining in the Pentagon.
wow. I love, so you took this a step further and you were like, the current regime is no longer in power.
Right.
The good guys are in power, and this can also happen.
Yeah, yeah. And I intentionally set it up as a kind of um, a powerless or a power conflict where everyone is powerless, right? So Gavin Newsom is the president. He's an
Okay.
executive. He was executive of California. He's going to want to if he were president, he would want to continue executive power. Um, AOC, of course, is who she is and wants to get the Constitution right. And the Senate is controlled by Republicans who, of course, are not complying. And so it's a disaster. And yeah, I hope
Oh,
everyone goes to check it out because, like I said, I'm really proud of it.
okay. I'm excited to read that one later. I love this work that you're doing on The Hinge. I love how you're presenting these two realistic like analyses of news, and then the third one is taking it one step further and saying, here's the speculative fiction of what could happen with the news that we're seeing. That is The Hinge, right? I've got you. I think I'm
Yeah, no,
summarized
that
that.
is right. Yeah, the first two are sort of here are real trends that are really happening, and the third one is speculative fiction that's like, and let's imagine a future in which both of these things have really come to pass.
Right.
And
Then what would that mean?
yeah,
Oh my gosh. I love that we're like we each have our writing entities on the side, and we're both dot connectors. We're very different writers. If I can plug my thing before we bring our awesome guest on, I just had a news story go live, and it's not a brand new story. Some of you will have seen this one before. My publication, I Write Out Loud, is a home for my creative nonfiction, and it's both news stories as well as ones from my archive. But what I'm finding is I'm also moving through arcs of like themes each week as
hmm
I'm posting stories. So the 2 week thread that I'm in week 2 of now is parenting through the era of Epstein, parenting specifically teen girls through the era of Epstein. There were 2 stories last week. There will be 2 this week. And the story I'm sure I shared just now before going live is going to be relevant to our conversation today. See, bringing us back around. And oh, my chat already froze. There must have been a lot of hearts going on about your story, Lawrence, because that tends to be what freezes my chat. But the story today, I'm interested to see what happens in sharing it now because this is my most popular story ever. It's called Middle Aged Men Keep Ogling My 16-Year-Old.
right,
And I'm interested to see what happens sharing it again in this setting, in this context of I Write Out Loud. So um, I didn't plan for this, but I'm fascinated that this story just went live just as we're bringing Christopher Pepper on because he wrote Talk to Your Boys and his Teen Health Today publication. It's mostly around talking to teen boys about how to come into manhood in a healthy way so that you're not leering at teenage girls when you're 15 years old. It's the flip side of the story, right?
right.
Um, and I love that we didn't even touch on the news today. We didn't even touch on the crazy. Let's not.
I mean, what else is there to say?
Right. Right.
He
Let's
wants other countries to come fix the Strait of Hormuz, which we broke. Cool.
I, hilarious. Like, I mean, I'm
I will
sorry, it's
point
not
out the
funny
Strait of Hormuz figures prominently
in your
in my
story.
story, and because I think it's such an obvious place for this tension to occur, and anyone could have predicted Donald Trump, literally anyone, including me.
Right. Excuse me, my cold is mostly gone, but ooh, that swallow just hit me hard. Shall we bring Christopher Pepper on
Let's
our
do it.
show?
Hi there. Good
Hey,
morning.
Christopher, welcome.
Good,
Thank
good,
you.
good morning, and welcome to the Daily Whatever Show. It's your first time here. Um,
It's so nice to be here. Thank you.
thrilled to have you here, and you are an author, you are an educator. Your focus is your father to 2 teen boys, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yes.
One
Mine
one's
are
not
eight.
one's not a teen anymore, but
Oh,
yes.
gotcha. I was just going to ask. Mine are 18 and almost 16. How about your two?
I have a 23-year-old who's about to go graduate from college and a 16-year-old.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Congrats. Graduating college. Mine is about to start, so I'm a few steps behind you. Would you like to introduce yourself to the folks at home who are here, the folks at home who are here listening?
Sure. So my name's Christopher Pepper. I write a Substack newsletter called Teen Health Today. And that really grew out of my experience as a health teacher. So I've been working in public schools in San Francisco for more than 20 years, teaching health class, which is a class that many people remember as like the place where you get sex ed or you learn about drugs, or and modern health classes are actually pretty different than the
Yeah.
past. So we part of what I like to do is communicate with the public about like what's coming up for teenagers right now. What should you be aware of if you have teenagers in your life that you care for, either as a parent or a caregiver or uncle or aunt or whatever situation is, and how are we talking about that in school? And then I also sort of like to advocate for we can do better, because
Yes.
sex ed in particular is something that's really different from one place to another across the US, handled really differently.
Yes.
And then earlier, about 6 months ago, I had a book come out that I wrote with Joanna Schroeder, who's a Los Angeles-based writer. It's called Talk to Your Boys. And it's a book for people who want to stay engaged with boys really between about 10 and 20 or 22. And we're really saying at this time when boys are growing into adolescence, we really need to stay close to them. We need to be paying attention to what media they're consuming, how they're treating other people, how they're engaging with the world, and really work on helping them become adults that you would want to be in community with, and who will be respectful to other people and have some knowledge about the world and take care of the people around them.
Hey,
Yeah.
Christopher, could you hold up the book again and like kind of in front of your face? We've got such a
Yes.
weird layout. There you go. I
Yes.
just want to make sure, yes, awesome, that people have a chance to see the cover.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I
thank
have
you.
had your book sitting here next to me for weeks in anticipation of this, and right now I'm like, poof, the book is gone.
That's okay.
2 kids, 3 pets, and I'm completely outnumbered in my own home. But I did want to give a cute anecdote that I put in a note on Substack a couple weeks ago. I was at a little local bookstore here in North Seattle. It's called Secret Garden Books, for those of you who may live in the area. It's a great bookstore. It's tiny. And walked in with my daughter, who has become quite the bookworm lately, which, I love. And your book was right up and on display. And I was like, hey, I'm going to be talking to that guy. I got all excited. And the woman who worked there said, oh, I haven't read this book yet, but we had a customer buy it and come back and just rave about how helpful this book was. And so we put it on the display.
Oh, that's so nice.
I know it wasn't like, I feel like usually, I don't know about in a bookstore this small, but often those slots are paid for by publishers, right? At least in record stores, I know they are. I imagine they are in bookstores as well. So bravo, you got the parenting seal of approval of a reader, and the store was so moved that you were on display. And I love
there've been a lot of books and movies about sort of what's going on with boys these days that make people alarmed. I don't know if you watched that Netflix show Adolescence or Inside the Manosphere just came out. And they really, I think for adults, raise a lot of alarms. And I think there's a real place for that kind of media. Our book is really sort of meant as a follow-up to that. Once someone is alarmed and says, we've got to pay more attention to what's going on with boys, well, what do you actually say? How do you sit down and have these awkward conversations about porn or about guns or about racism or about consent, these things that are important to talk about, but really challenging to talk about. Right. So we talk to experts about how to do that, wrote some scripts so that you can actually say, okay, I'm just going to say what it says in the book and start there and then see what my kid does. And you can take it from there. But trying to give adults some confidence to have those conversations and encouragement to just get started.
I'm curious. So you co-wrote the book with Joanna Schroeder.
Yeah.
And had you known her previously? Like, did you all know each other through your work? How did you, I know this is, a little bit of behind the scenes to get started, but how did you find each other and decide that this was a topic that you wanted to kind of invest in trying to co-author a book together on?
Oh, that's a great question. So I've been working in San Francisco schools. I coordinate a program called the Young Men's Health Project. We have social emotional groups for teenage boys in middle schools and high schools. And I've been posting about that. I was back in the day, I was pretty active on Twitter and would post things and connected with a lot of educators and parents that way. And Joanna, who's based in Los Angeles, wrote. She was also like a big Twitter user. Wrote a Twitter thread that ended up being turned into an essay in the New York Times, and it was called "Racists Are Recruiting. Watch Out for Your White Boys." And she wrote that in 2019, so very, a pretty long time ago now.
Yeah.
But was seeing, and it's basically a look. She's looking over her kids' social media feed and seeing jokes and memes and the kind of things that teenagers look at. Oh, guy falling off his skateboard, ha ha ha, and somebody dropped a bucket of paint, ha ha ha. Hitler, oh my god. And the kids just liking, and she's like, whoa, what's coming in? And she's noticing that racism, hatred, anti-Semitism, all these things are coming in almost under the radar in kids' social media feeds, particularly targeting adolescent boys. And so she raised an alarm about that. And many people sent me that article. It went really viral. That article was one of the most popular things the New York Times published that year. So I was familiar with her work from that and from seeing her on Twitter. And our book really started with exchanging DMs and saying this could turn into something bigger. And she was interested in my work with schools and wanted to have a partner in writing a book. And we worked really well together. It turned out to be a great partnership. But honestly, we did not spend much time in person until the book came out and we were doing book events together. We mostly was a relationship like this, where we're meeting up on the computer and working together.
Right. Nice.
It's like a modern day version of the band The Postal Service. Do you remember them?
Yeah.
From how Dentel and Ben Gibbard made the record? One did the music, one did the vocals and lyrics, back and forth literally through the Postal Service.
Yeah.
I love that you're having this conversation, and what it's really reminding me of is part of our ethos here on the Daily Whatever show. Sometimes our guests are explicitly political, but often they are folks like you who are impacting culture, because culture and politics are so intertwined. And what the wrong side of history, the right side of the aisle, has done a really good job of is this form of indoctrination, of getting in culturally to impact things politically. And I've seen it I just saw yesterday, our friend Melissa Corrigan posted a video that was directed more at girls, of watch out for this, of like, nobody on social media, people aren't saying to our young girls, like, you should not go to college and not get educated, but they're saying things like, once I leaned into my feminine energy and stopped working or stopped going to school, it was easier to date because men could come forward in their masculine energy. And it's this insidious content, but it's coming forward in a very lifestyle forward, relatable way. And I feel like books like yours are the antidote to that kind of programming. So thank you for the work you've done. Also, a health teacher, like I can, we up here, I'm in Washington, so thank you for being up at 7 a.m. with me here. I know it's very early. We have Flash. I'm sure you're familiar with this if you've been in this a long time. And I can tell you, like, my kids dread Flash. They all do. Because it's embarrassing. Like, first question, how do you get over the hurdle of embarrassment as a teacher, and what advice do you have for parents to get over, or uncles like Lawrence or other folks, to start talking about these topics? Like, how do you put a teenager at ease?
That's a great question. I do want to recognize, like, on the West Coast, California, Oregon, and Washington all do have pretty good sex ed laws that say what's required. So, and it's what's called comprehensive sex ed. And it means that you teach about all the types of birth control that are available. And that's a place where we've seen a lot of misinformation. So the same kind of videos for girls that you were talking about, there's other videos that talk about how bad birth control is and how nobody should be on birth control. And so really just providing factual information. But the other thing we do is really talk a lot about relationships and healthy relationships. And that's been an area that's grown tremendously just in the time that I've been a teacher. I started teaching in 2002. So in that time, the amount of content and the amount of time we spend talking about types of relationships and what does it mean to be in a good relationship and what's a green flag and what's a red flag, all those kind of things has gone up a lot. And I love talking to parents and talking to adults who are caregivers because they are going to be the biggest influence on young people's thoughts and decisions. And teachers and schools can provide factual information, but really it's up to families to talk about values and talk about what in their family, their culture, their religion, whatever their home culture is, what they believe. And then it's up ultimately to the kid to decide, yeah, I agree with this part. Maybe I don't agree with this part so much. And they're becoming their own person and individuating and making decisions that they're going to make for their lives. And I think a lot of adults get freaked out, like, I've got to have the talk, sit down and download all the information I've ever learned about human bodies and relationships and put it all into one important lecture. And that's too much for anyone to handle. I would much more like to see adults who are striving to keep a close relationship with the young people in their lives and have ongoing conversations. And often they're 1 minute long. Often it's like, oh, you see that billboard with somebody hanging out in a bikini and somebody's like giving them a drink, and it's a conversation point. Or you hear a song on the radio and you're in the car together and you talk about what's the message of this song, and do you like how this relationship is portrayed in this song, or you're watching a TV show together and there's a sexual scene that's sexually charged, and it gives you something to talk about. Using those kind of jumping off points in media, or saying, there's something important I want to talk to you about. Can I have 3 minutes of your time? And sort of finding a comfortable space for that. And I think there's a real big space for people who are not actually parents in the lives of young people in this way, that often they do turn to a trusted adult who's maybe an uncle, maybe an aunt, but maybe a family friend for those important questions, because it can be uncomfortable to talk to your parent about sexuality. And I think adults should be okay with that. Like, if your kid is finding trusted adults and they're people that you trust, that's a great thing, and is really valuable.
I'm curious. So you've been doing a lot of promotion for the book, and I'm imagining you get opportunities to talk to parents and who've read the book or who are about to read it. I'm wondering if there's a question that you wish parents would stop asking you. Like, is there something that people are too focused on that they should, maybe reemphasize their focus somewhere else?
People get really concerned about screen time and about regulating screen time, and what they focus on is often like, what are kids looking at online and how that might influence them, which I think is a very important question. But I am just as concerned about what screen time is replacing as I am about what kids are seeing online. And what screen time is usually replacing is in-person time with other kids, with other teenagers, with other people their age. So we've seen actually documented studies that show how much in-person hangout time, which I didn't know we studied hangout time, but there's actually studies on like how much are kids just spending time together without a structured activity, where they're not on a team, they're not in school, they're just being together, doing something that they choose of their own volition. And that has gone down tremendously, basically since phones became a big part of our lives. And the other thing that's gone down a lot is dating among teenagers. So a lot of adults hear that and they think, oh, great, I don't want my kid to date until they're 30. And they'll give some kind of jokey answer like that. But you learn a lot from spending time with other human beings in real life. And you get really deep and rich feedback from somebody. If you're being a jerk, other people let you know if you're in person. And online, they might just log off, they might ignore it, but or it might be more accepted as part of the culture. It's definitely a part of video game culture to be sort of mean in your comments a lot and use slurs and be really insulting to other people. And I just think that we should be doing all we can to have kids spend time in real life with each other. And not, I think for young people, it feels like if they're going home, if they're the kind of kid that goes home and logs onto their computer and they're playing games with people where one person's in their house, the other kid's in their house, and they're getting together, I think it feels like they're connecting with their friends.
Right.
Or if they're going on social media and they're checking the messages from everyone, or they're on a group chat together, it feels like you're connecting, but it is really not the same experience as spending time with real people in real life and really learning what it means to be a friend, or to be a boyfriend, to be a girlfriend, to be a partner. Those are things that teenagers over time, there's a lot of value to actually having those experiences.
So Dana and I don't know if you know this, Christopher. Dana and I have known each other since the 4th grade, right? And as you were kind of saying that, I was thinking so much of our youth was literally just hanging out.
Yes.
You know, at the mall, at somebody's house, in the pool, at the beach, you know, in school, like
Usually at Lawrence's house.
right,
Actually.
and
That
it
was the
just
hangout house.
hanging out. And
Yeah.
God, that's such a fascinating topic, in that it really isn't something that you know. I'm not a parent. You know, as a 50-something gay guy, I never had the joy or opportunity to be a parent. But it's so true that since the advent of phones, I can see how hanging out on your phone or hanging out on your Xbox is kind of, you know, the modern equivalent to hanging out at somebody's house, you know, just shooting the shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, because you have this breadth of experience, right? 2002 feels like 1,000 years ago culturally,
Yes.
right? I think we're all about the same age, so I'm not calling us old. I'm just saying the world has moved so quickly and
Right.
changed so
Weren't we
profoundly.
also in a war in the Middle East?
Some things never change.
Right.
I think a lot of folks saw adolescence and kind of jaw dropped. First of all, because my kids were making fun of me, because the whole time I'm like, it's one shot. How
Yeah.
did they do this in one shot? Because each episode, if y'all haven't seen it, is shot in one shot. It's extraordinary filmmaking and storytelling. And also it's profoundly disturbing. But I want to hear from you of, like, sometimes it's obviously it's fictionalized, you know, it's not based on a true story. How much, and then we're seeing all these news stories of, like, young men are falling off, we're having a crisis with young men. In your experience of working with these kids day in and day out, are the boys and young men really falling off as much as they are being reported? And if so, when did you notice that change really starting to kick in?
I mean, the experience in adolescence does seem extreme. And it's definitely a fictionalized story. Those extremes do happen. If we look at if you look at the epidemic of mass shootings and targeted violence, hate-based violence, and look at who is committing that violence, it is well over 90% done by men, and often by young men who have some kind of story of grievance about why the people they're attacking hurt their lives or have negatively affected them, and so they're going to take it out on them with deadly violence. And it's a horrible situation. Most boys are not those shooters. So it's sort of being aware of, yes, there can be those extremes. We definitely need to address that. I think we need to do a lot more to make sure that guns are less accessible. But also to recognize that we cannot just say all boys are bad, and we're not, sort of have this great fear about teenage boys. I think we really need to work with and engage teenage boys. And that there has been a trend towards sort of isolation and loneliness, and boys want guidance. So you're sort of looking at why would a boy go online and look for content about masculinity, look at these influencers and who have such, for adults, they look at them and they're like, oh, these messages are really negative and manipulative. Why are boys looking at that? And I was lucky enough earlier this year to work with Common Sense Media on a research study. So I actually got to work on the questions that we were going to ask in a survey, and then we gave the survey and then did a report afterwards. And it was about boys' experiences online. And what we found was that if you go online, if you go on social media and start to express interest in things that teenage boys or tween boys are interested in, even simple things like if you're saying, oh, I like Minecraft and maybe I'm interested in how sports cars work, and I heard I want to know how to talk to girls, or I want to know how to make money, like really simple things that come up in like a middle school conversation, how to get bigger muscles, things like that. The algorithm quickly starts feeding you content that is quite toxic. Like, I don't like to talk about toxic masculinity or boys being toxic, but the content that gets served to boys, I'm perfectly comfortable. It's pretty toxic.
Right. Yeah. The whole clavicular thing, right? And
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that next. Is that a real thing, or is that just like one dude talking about it and everybody blowing up?
He's an extreme case, but
Right.
the sort of exploitation of vulnerability is essentially what you're looking at. And it's similar to what girls have experienced for a long time. Like, we're going to tell you that you are not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not strong enough, you're not big enough, you're not little enough to, depending on your audience, you get these messages about some way your body or who you are is not adequate. And we have a solution. We figured it out, and we'll sell you a plan for $49.99 a month. We'll help you get to be the person you want to be.
We'll help you break your cheekbones.
Right. And to be clear, I'm putting the link in the comment here of this only recently came to my attention that there is a new trend, or at least online trend. I hope it's not really trending in real life, where teenagers and young men are breaking their clavicles or their cheekbones in the hopes that they grow back more masculine. Like they're taking hammers to their faces. I asked my teen daughter about this last night.
Clavicle, right?
Oh, sorry, mandible, not clavicle. Yeah. Although his name is clavicular, so maybe those two.
He has some weird thing about like because his clavicles stick out really far, and to him that means blah blah. I don't know.
Yeah, it is wild, and in the era of plastic surgery being so dominant, when you can't afford it, this is the solution being offered, I guess. Yeah. And my daughter was like, "Oh, it's not just boys." Because last night I was like, "Can I just say I'm glad I have two girls?" And she was like, the girls are doing this too because they want nose jobs, so they're breaking their own noses and then pinching them.
I have not seen a lot of people actually breaking bones and doing that kind of. I think that's a little bit of a internet extreme example, but you do see just a lot of body insecurity. You see a lot of girls and some boys who are going and like getting really interested in makeup at a very early age. So sort of thinking about how to present how to alter their skin, or concern about aging skin when you're 12 years old.
Right.
Oh yeah. When you go into a Sephora now, my kids are like, look at those little kids. Because there's like 9 and 10-year-olds running around with $80 creams. And I'm like, when women my age see you in here, we feel the same way. You should be buying your makeup at the drugstore. Right. like we did.
It's really interesting to me. Like, I apologies, I can't help but see things through the lens of a gay man. But so much of the looks maxing stuff for boys reminds me of the stuff that I got fed through queer culture as I was kind of coming up and coming out in the 80s and 90s about how to appear more like how to present more masculine, how to, kind of maximize the features of your face or your body, get bigger muscles, all those things. And so it's just weird to me to see things that I was sort of told, on the down low in gay culture as a younger man, now being things that straight boys are being told through just sort of the bigger culture writ large. And I don't know that I have a point there, other than it's fascinating that like the toxic quest towards beauty has now really fully hits both genders kind of equivalently and across all sexualities, right? Like everyone's freaking out about how to be more beautiful in whatever way that happens to manifest for them.
Yeah, and it is so part of I guess the work that I do is working with adults who are with teenagers at that particular age, and just trying to help them feel comfortable in their body, and
Right.
recognizing that for almost everyone, like those adolescent years, particularly middle school, are very awkward. Your body is going through changes that you have no control over. Often people's shape does not match what they would like it. They're frustrated because they're not as tall as they'd like to be, or they're more chubby than they want to be, or they're too thin and they wish they could have more muscles, or there's so many body insecurities that come up at that time, and you have no control over them. You can't There's not a lot you can do to like make your development come faster or slow it down, or and there's often some grief with that. Like, you're sort of recognizing that people start to look at you differently, as Dana's essay points out. Like, suddenly people are on the street are looking at your body in a way that's feels really different and feels very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And people start treating you like an adult, and you see that there's a whole body of research about how much that happens to Black youth in particular. Like, the adultification comes on even earlier for Black young
that.
young
Yeah.
kids, and I think that contributes to how much we see police violence and sort of extreme sort of discipline put in place with young Black kids, and where they're not allowed to be kids. And I want to have a world where kids can be themselves, can kind of accept themselves, and be accepting to other people for who they are, and that they're allowed to screw up a little bit. That part of being an adolescent is you make mistakes, and maybe you're rude to someone, maybe you say something that hurts somebody's feelings, and I think we don't want that to be okay. We don't want it to be like, oh yeah, you can just hurt somebody's feelings and have no consequence, or there's nothing that happens. But we want people to learn how to repair from that kind of situation, how to stay friends with someone when you hurt their feelings or you didn't treat them so well. And also for young people to be able to speak up for themselves and say, hey, you can't say that to me, like, to have some empowerment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true that there used to be an allowance to be malleable as an adolescent, right? To do something wrong and learn from it and become a better person. And there's some of that missing now because, the internet is forever. Online in a way can be forever. Video is forever. There are ways in which you can mess up in life now that kind of get printed indelibly into not your permanent record, but your profiles or the way that people perceive you. So that's such a good point that we need to make space to let kids just be kids again and maybe screw up and have to ask for forgiveness.
We have a great question here in the chat, and I do want to say, if you have questions for Christopher, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we will try to ask them on air. But Ginger has asked a couple questions around LGBTQ kids, both if your book addresses questions around speaking with these kids and helping them feel empowered. And she also specifically says, I'm a substitute teacher, or was, and there was always a small trans community that hung out. That's different than when I was in school. Is that discussed in the book?
It's a great question. So my background is a health teacher, and so I'm teaching about relationships and sexuality in a classroom where anyone who lives in the community can come. It's a public school environment. So that's part of where we start, is just we want to be appropriate for everyone. And that's actually the law in California where I teach, is that sex ed has to be appropriate for people of all genders and sexualities, and affirming, like that the stance is you're okay the way you are, and we want to make sure that the sex ed that we're providing is not just focused on heterosexual relationships, that it's talking about all kinds of sexual activities, and that education it's better for everyone. Like, creating an environment where all kids feel accepted and welcomed is the sex ed is better, the content is actually better, and lets people know that, oh, there's other options of what you can do with your body when you're getting together with another person other than a penis going in a vagina. That's one sexual activity, but there's lots of other things you can do as well, and you get to choose, and you can say, I'm not into that, I'm into this. I want to, you get to make choices around that. So for the Talk to Your Boys book, essentially anyone who calls themselves a boy, that's sort of, they're a boy in our eyes. I do think it's mostly most of the readers have been parents and teachers. That's who's been picking up the book. And I think most of the boys they're dealing with are cisgender boys, not necessarily heterosexual, but there have been, it would be appropriate for a parent of a trans kid to pick up. But I think part of the experience of being a trans kid is that you learn a lot about gender and gender expectations in that transition phase. So if someone's been raised as a girl and then at 13 decides I'm going to start presenting to the world as a boy, they'll probably have some real insights to share about how boys get treated and how girls get treated. And I think you could probably learn a lot from them about what they're observing. So I would include them in the conversation. And the book might be a starting point for some of those conversations, but it's not going to be an ending point. Our main message, and my main message for any parent who's raising a student who's gay or bi or trans, is to be interested in their lives, to be affirming, to recognize that they might change. People sometimes have an idea of who they are that they pronounce to the world when they're 10 years old. And sometimes that sticks, and sometimes they change, or they have a different idea of who they are by the time they're 16 and by the time they're 25. Like, that's okay. People are human, and human sexuality and gender identity is complicated. It's interesting. The main message is, like, we love you. We accept you for who you are. We want you to be in our lives, and to really let them know you always have a place here with us. Like, that's the message to give to kids.
So important.
That's amazing.
That at the end of the day, they know they're loved and safe with what they're, with where they're, wherever they're going in their gender and sexuality journey. That's so important. I have a question here for you. I do want to discuss a bit of the current political climate. The book came out in 2025, so this is like,
yeah, about 6 months ago.
deep in Trump 2.0, right? Masculinity is being very loudly defined in politics. Has that changed how you both teach your classroom and advise your parents?
Well, I think that it really feels like there's one cultural message that is trying to grab and this really rigid version of masculinity that talks about, fast cars, having lots of women, sort of being interested in sex kind of random, like the message to guys is like, you always be ready to have sex with any woman or with a high quality woman at any time. Kind of, you're perpetually horny is like the message. And paired with this message around like how girls should be or how women should be, which is very retrograde around basically not having any sexual agency and not being interested in a career. And it's almost cartoonish. And I don't feel like most people, that's not what they want for their kids. It's not realistic for how people want to raise their actual children. So it's played out in media more than I see it in real life. And what I see in real life, both from liberal families, from conservative families, from middle of the road families, is they want to raise kids who will be nice people, who will be concerned about their community, take care of other people. So really trying to emphasize those connection threads. And that's where I see I'm sometimes able to connect with someone who maybe has different political beliefs than I have. But just say, like, we both care about our kids. We want the best for them. We want them to be good partners. We want them to be good community members. So if the neighbor needs help carrying their groceries, they're going to go over and help, and they're going to be somebody who like washes the dishes after you have a party, and just
Right.
kind of helps out. And you're thinking about those basic things. How do you want this person that you're raising to behave in the world, and how do you get there? But thinking deeply about those things, not letting the internet be the main teacher during those years in middle school and high school, to get in there. And if you have values, that's the time to share them. Like,
Right.
people
I
are
feel
going to
like
have different values, but it's all
that's,
around humanity and connection.
yeah, that's so interesting. As someone who, has been parenting my kids for a long time, I have seen as the conflicts get a bit harder when they get older, there's the sense of like, oh, the kids will figure it out. And to me, I'm like, no, actually, they even though they may say they don't, this is when they need it to know that we're right here,
Mm-hmm.
because these are
Yeah.
the things that emotional intelligence, it's still on us to teach this.
Yeah.
And to not, you're right, not to let them learn this from the internet or just their peers. If there are things that they need us to help figure out. And
And
yeah,
it's hard right now. It's hard because so much of that communication happens privately. So kids
yeah,
come home and they're on their phone with their headphones, and it's very hard to actually know what they're looking at or who they're engaging with. So it's created an extra job for parents and for adults to really try to stay involved, to be curious, and to not accept the teenager, the standard teenager move of shutting out their parents. So they may
right.
slam the door and say, "Don't talk to me right now," and you can give them that moment, but it doesn't mean never go knock on the door again. It means
Right.
keep trying to engage, look for all the openings you can, and stay connected with them.
I've always found the car is a great place to have conversations because they're
Totally.
trapped next to you, but
Track.
but you're not looking at each other, so it takes some of that pressure off.
Yeah.
Where
Mhm.
you're both looking straight ahead, so you can introduce topics. That's my I don't know, for whatever it's worth. That's my one tip. I
It's
know
a
we're
great
getting,
tip.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because I've had some really good conversations in the
And if
car.
you can pick up the carpool sometimes, where you can have the kids in the back and just listen to
Oh,
what they're
I
saying,
am
gives you
always
so much insight.
I am like ears fully up at all times. I wanted to ask you about this wonderful story. You have so much great content. Like if you all aren't following Teen Health Today, please go subscribe and follow all of Christopher's amazing work. But when I asked you of all these stories, like what's the top one or two you want to talk about? One of the ones, let me put it in the chat again since it's flying by kind of quickly, is this one about how to help teenagers. The title is very funny. How to help teenagers become sex ed experts.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of this is around empowering teens to have the right knowledge so they can go evangelize. That might
Yes.
be too heavy a
Yes.
word, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about what because I would imagine that this title, I'm actually surprised that there aren't more people reading this one because it's such a like, I don't want my teenager to become a sex ed expert. I mean, except I do. But a lot of parents might react to that. What do you mean when you say this? Can you bring that to
So
life for people?
sure. So, if you go visit an algebra class in Washington, and then you go to Wyoming, and then you go to Alabama, and you go to Massachusetts, algebra classes are going to look pretty much the same from place to place. A sex ed class taught in each of those places is going to look pretty
Oof.
different, and that some places will do a pretty good job in school, and some places use a lot of scare tactics, and sometimes they actually give misinformation, and some schools
Mm.
won't touch it at all, won't teach that subject at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a space for young people to not just accept that situation, but to do some learning and become active in teaching their peers. And usually in the communities, I do see that there's like one kid that everybody goes to with their questions, who
Like the
is sort
TV
of a
show
mini
Sex
teacher.
Education.
Yeah.
Did you watch that show, Sex
Yeah.
Education? Oh my God, I love that show so much.
So often, I think it's a great role for teenagers who have some interest and some comfort with talking about sexuality and relationships, to be the person where somebody can come over to them and say, "Look at this text this guy just sent me. Like, what would you say back to him?"
Yep.
Or to say, like, "I heard it. You could get pregnant this way. Is that true?" Or Do you know anything about prep? Like those kind of
Right.
questions where a teenager could definitely have that knowledge and could share it in their community. They could share it and become a mini social media influencer and share information. But it could just be from friend to friend. It could just be in their community in person.
Yes.
I think there's a real space for that. And I think that we have not been doing a good job as adults of providing that information. So that's why I say, like, young people, maybe this is for you to just become the expert.
There you go, kids.
And
Christopher Pepper is saying you should become a sex education influencer.
Hold on, let me go wake my kids up and tell them.
Right.
It's funny because my eldest is prepping to go to college in the fall. And I have an article idea in my head that's like the top 7 things I still need to teach my kid before she leaves in 7 months.
Mm.
I think maybe we're down to 6 months now. I might need to change the title. And I'd like to think I've done a pretty decent job in this area, but I'm like, you're right. There's specific like micro information that I feel like I know that I have not imparted, that people have pretty direct information.
It's often those
Yeah.
often those the things that feel like emergencies in a college situation. You can think of like somebody who needs plan B on the weekend or needs to know where to go for a
Dana's
pregnancy
got that
test.
covered.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't even fully understand this. Plan B at the drugstore is like $50, but you can buy it on Amazon for like $10 a pop. And
Mhm.
I have been stockpiling pregnancy tests and Plan B in my home, no questions asked. And I just restock. And I know that some has been distributed. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Wow.
I intend to send my kid to college probably with a subscribe and save of like,
For sure.
I do not need to know a thing.
Oh, sorry.
But if anybody needs this, you can be the person. Like, although now I'm like, Jesus, is that going to be illegal in some red states?
I'm sure.
Some
Before
of the
we
things.
wrap up, I really wanted to ask you about the thing that you wrote, Christopher, that moved me so much was you recently lost your dad, and I'm so sorry. My condolences.
Thank you.
And you wrote about him and the influence that he had on you, and kind of the way he modeled connection and community. I lost my dad when I was 14, and it really made me think about how much I learned from my dad and how much I didn't, right? Because he was gone, and
Mhm.
kind of the missed opportunity there. And I was just wondering if you could, I kind of came away from, I'm wondering if you went down the path of becoming a health teacher and an educator like this because of what you learned from your dad. And I was wondering if you'd talk to us about that.
Yeah, I was just home for his memorial a week and a half ago.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
Thank you. Definitely, my dad was really interested in connecting with the world. He lived his whole life in his tiny town in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very unusual. The life he lived was very unusual for his town because he went out and traveled all over the world, and we always had exchange students in and out of our house, and ended up sponsoring refugees from Kosovo who are part of our family now, and sponsored a family from Afghanistan just a couple of years ago, where he was like, oh, there's a house for sale. I'll just buy the house and these folks can live in it, and then I'll sell the house once they're settled. But he had the resources to do that, and really worked with the community a lot. And so that part has been inspirational to me, seeing how he just loved people and loved learning about the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I started out my career thinking I would be a journalist and work in magazines and newspapers, and worked for a few years and kept getting laid off. So this is the sort of Generation X experience that
Right.
like I kept working at places where they're like, you're doing fine, but we're closing.
Right.
And
we're laying off all the reporters. Sorry.
Yeah. Relatable.
So that he had a good example. Like, he had changed careers in the middle of his life and had a much more successful career in the second half of his life, and he was good counsel around like, maybe it's time to figure out something else to do, where you're gonna actually stay employed.
Right.
And was supportive in that way, and he just loved that sort of direction. He loved this book that came out. I told people at his memorial, I think the reason it hit the bestseller list was because he made everybody buy it. He
Oh,
told all his friends about it. He was so proud, and it was just really nice to have
That's so
that kind of
great.
support.
oh my gosh, that's wonderful. And I'm so sorry, and I'm so thankful you've come on our show so quickly. So thank you for your time and your expertise and the work that you do. We do need to ask you one more question before you go, because we always ask every
Right.
guest on first visit to the
And
Daily
you set
Whatever
it up
Show.
perfectly because you said Gen X, which
You
Dana and
did.
I are solidly Gen X.
One of us. Lawrence, I've queued it up. You want to ask the question?
Yes, Christopher, it's a very hard-hitting question, which is, what is the ultimate Gen X song of all time?
Oh. I'm going to say this song by Fugazi.
Oh,
So they, I don't know if you know that band. They're a political band from Washington, D.C., but
Yeah.
they have a song that is about sexual assault, and it's written from the point of view of a woman, which is there's not many songs about rape or sexual assault that are written by men, and so the song is called Suggestion, and it's written, so you've got this male writer trying to think, like, what is it like to walk through the streets as a woman, and have people kind of very much in line with what Dana's been writing about, like have people looking at you and making comments about you. I don't think the song totally works, actually, but I think it's such a brave thing to try. And they have some live versions where they actually have a woman singing the first part of the song. And I think that makes it really clear, like who's the vocalist for this, or who's the voice coming through. And I think that works so well. And I just want more people to try brave things like that, and to bring sort of personal experience and into their songwriting. So that would be my Gen X song, and I know it's been really influential on bands like Bikini Kill, and that people listened to it and commented on it and debated about it, and it's been an influential song for me.
That is such a great choice, and no one else has picked. I'm
Fugazi.
not sure anyone else has picked Fugazi at all,
No.
and not that song. So,
and I don't know if I know that song. Is it? Did you say the song was called Suggestion?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got it pulled up here.
Yeah, I'm seeing the lyrics. Why can't I walk down a street free of suggestion? Is my body my only trade in the eyes of men? I've got some skin. Do you want to look in? I can't recall the tune off the top of my head at all, but I'm definitely checking it out after the show. Thank you.
Okay.
Me too. And
you're welcome.
From the comments, Johnny said, okay, this guy has killer taste in music. And I do want to shout out, and Jason, we really need to make a post about this, and I'm sorry that we haven't yet, but Jason Odell is keeping playlists on, I think on both Spotify and Apple Music, of every pick as folks are coming on the show, so that we have a Gen X all-time playlist. And we've got to add, we have got to add this song to the playlist, because this is, I mean, most people are like Duran Duran or Nirvana. So
Right.
this is like a deeper cut, and one with like profound meaning. So wow. I love that.
I love it. Great choice.
Okay, great.
Christopher, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Everyone, please go follow, subscribe, buy Christopher's book. What a needed resource in these trying times.
Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate being here.
Yeah, thank you, Christopher. It was great meeting you. Keep doing the good work, and again, our condolences on your dad. And what a lovely tribute to him.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
And thanks to everyone in the chat. You all have been awesome. Jason is tuning in from Barcelona today. I am beyond jealous. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. Have a lovely rest of your day, all. We love you. Mean it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.